These videos were shot and first went live in 2021 to 2023 as a part of Designer Shala's podcast, The Creative Hour on Instagram, where we interviewed unique designers and creatives on their journey in design. This is an effort to preserve those talks and help future designers and aspirants to understand design better. The views, opinions, and experiences shared in the Creative Hour podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Designer Shala. Designer Shala holds no accountability or responsibility for any statements, claims, or perspectives expressed during the podcast. Listener discretion is advised.
Everybody has like something special that something that you don't really think about but comes very naturally to you. I'm not someone who actually believes in trends, and if you're doing it because it's a trend, if you're doing it because that's what everyone is doing, it's no longer you, and it's no longer a personal journey, and there is no right or wrong, and there's a million ways to put two things together, and what makes it work for you or what speaks to you is what makes it special. So honestly, I just wish someone told me to not look at Pinterest, or someone told me to go outside, sketch a few frames, or start experimenting with yourself is what you really realize that this is what I like, or this is what I'm inclined to.
Hello. I'm so excited to welcome each one of you to the Creative Hour at Designer Shala. We are kicking off this series on fashion conversations in the design industry. We're getting leading design experts to come talk about their journeys and upcoming design experts to come talk about their journeys in the fashion and design industry in the country and internationally, of course, in an effort to make sure that bridge is created and that gap is filled for design aspirants and design lovers, and they get actual stories of fashion entrepreneurs, fashion designers, stylists, designers in different fields, and understand what is it like to be a part of this design industry, and what does it feel like to actually be on the other side. I'm so excited to actually have this conversation with you. I've been looking at your work and I'm in awe. It's
Thanks so
beautiful.
much.
So tell us something. If you may sort of talk to our audience and tell them a little about your background. You've graduated from NIFT Chennai, we know that, but what was your specialty and how did styling actually
so
happen?
I did fashion design because I actually come from like like 4 generations of women who like sew. So like my mom, my grandmom, everybody used to stitch. So growing up, I kind of just saw this around me all the time, and so when it was like time to kind of choose what I wanted to do for like the rest of my life, fashion design was like the most obvious choice because that's what I've seen and that's what I kind of knew and was kind of inbuilt. So I picked fashion design, and it was quite intensive, obviously, but it definitely taught me a lot about fashion and the garment side of things. And of course, styling was a part of my program, but it's not as focused on styling as maybe like fashion communication and stuff like that. So we had modules of styling, we had modules of photography, but it wasn't very intensive. But back then, I wasn't really even keen on this. I was just keen on making the garments, and I was keen on trying to bring that to life. So I never actually took this very seriously. And straight after NIFT, I kind of got this job in a slow fashion company called Upasna. And it's there when I kind of understood what exactly it is that I wanted to do with styling. Because I think it's one of those things that you know at the back of your head, but you don't really recognize, because I always thought that it was like fashion design. And so then when I joined Upasna, we played with a lot of different imagery, trying to tell a lot of different stories. And I definitely fell in love with that more than what my background was in. But yeah, so that's it. And then post that, and when I moved back to Cochin is when I kind of found photography and found like sort of my art, whatever you would like to call it. I kind of play with still life a lot and a lot with self-portraits and stuff like that. And I think that's what I found, that sitting back at home and just the process of it, I think. Yeah.
So you found your passion for sort of visual arts at a time when you were working your first job. And a lot of people face similar difficulties. They graduate in a different field and then they end up realizing much later. Like, only when you're in your third year is when you realize, I don't really want to do this, but what have I gotten myself?
Exactly.
Right? And the transition, a lot of us, we face that sort of limiting belief, or that there's this self-doubt that should I even be trying something else? Am I capable to actually switch? Is it even possible to make that switch? And you're somebody who's done that transition, who's crossed that bridge and done it. I'm not I can't say you've done it seamlessly because I
Yeah.
don't know your journey, but we'd like to know how you then eventually transitioned from having a fashion design background into a fashion styling background and into, visual arts and art direction and self-portraits and
I
all of
think
that.
honestly, fashion design helped me, even though they're two different, different aspects and different, completely different things. Fashion design honestly backs me up because it's somehow the foundation, and it helps me manipulate my the styling. It helps with kind of knowing where it is I'm going with styling, fashion styling in particular, and well, it wasn't seamless for sure, but I definitely had it lucky with an open team at my first job who was open to kind of letting me kind of explore with this. And I think that's a thing with styling and storytelling. It's almost that there's only so much background will do for you. You have to kind of find your voice. You have to kind of figure out what you want to say and where it is you're going to go. So I think that's definitely what helped me. I think just figuring out what I wanted to say, figuring out what I had to say, and where my voice was at is what kind of helped that transition. Fashion's an expression of yourself, and it no longer was through my clothes, but through the stories I tell, through my pictures, and all of that. So it kind of just evolved from a process of storytelling through my clothes to like more through pictures and of that sort of thing. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. That's amazing. We are talking about how all of these things started. Like there was a domino effect when you first got to try your hands at different
Yeah.
when you were at your first job, right? You fell in love with the entire process. But today, what inspires you at this point every single day to sort of style and create different visuals? What is it that you seek inspiration
So there's
from?
definitely a lot of inspirations, but I think one that tops my list is nature and just everyday things around me. It's sort of like, I mean, this I'll give full credit to the lockdown for. It's the one thing it did do right. I did try to I sort of notice the things that you see every day. It's like everyday things around you that you don't really look twice. You're like it's around and you see it and you know exactly what it is, but you don't really think of it as beautiful. You don't really think of it with any aesthetic value. You don't look at it twice, and sort of that's what inspires me the most. I think because it's like me going down like a walk and kind of seeing this little leaf bent a specific way, and I'm just like, oh, but that's so poetic, and this could kind of it that inspires a story of its own, and it's reimagining just like everyday things you see around you, because from like even like milk and something that you see that you use every day, just pouring it down, and it inspired just the idea of reinventing it and looking at the ordinary things in like an everyday light. So I think that's definitely where my inspiration comes from. And then of course it has to do a lot with the story it kind of inspires, because like it definitely starts with what I find and with what is around me, but then it kind of invokes like some sort of story or some sort of emotion that I want to kind of communicate, and then it becomes a sort of balance of a whole different things. And yeah, so I think it's a bunch of things, but nature to start with.
Absolutely, and I love how the moment you said like
Yeah,
even milk pouring, and that is the beauty of things, right? That we tend to forget, but there is inspiration all
exactly.
around us, in the minute of details around us that we see. One of the things that design students and young aspirants struggle the most with. They'll have all these crazy, amazing, incredible ideas, but they don't know how to actually translate it into work, which is functional
Yeah.
and both aesthetic, right? So how do you do it? What's your thought process
So
behind that?
it's not something that comes very easy, because I feel like, so like, for example, I've taken, the other day I went on a walk and I saw this bark full of mushrooms on it. And I really wanted to create something because the texture was very, very intriguing to me. And so the idea was honestly just to play with texture and to play with maybe a still life composition and something of that sort. And then I try whole lot of different things to kind of translate the inspiration, because I'm inspired, but I'm not exactly sure how to come across it. But then I kind of found this bark that was, to me, the most obvious thing to me. It looked like a bodice, but that's the thing about creativity. Like something as mundane might look like something to you, but completely else to me, you know. So then I saw this back, and to me, it was the most obvious thing. It was a bodice, and it felt like something that it should have been like some sort of garment of sorts. And so, and then I try to translate that, and then it plays with a whole lot of. It's not the easiest process for sure, but it kind of I stick with what it like looks like to me because I think that's what makes it special.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. The way you're explaining it, I can actually think of this beautiful collection, Spring Summer by Rahul Mishra in 2021, which was completely
Yeah,
inspired by white
it had
mushrooms.
all the.
And, I know for a fact that, when we would put together both the designers, both your work and his work, the same inspiration would have like absolute poles apart sort of, stories and narratives, absolute different sort of products out of it
Exactly.
at the end of the day. And that's the beauty with inspiration. Right? We all
Exactly.
see the
And
same
like there
things,
is no
but
way
how we
that
interpret is
the mushroom actually looked like anything to anyone except a mushroom. It was just merely a mushroom. And then it's just sort of like how you see it. Yeah.
absolutely, I love that. Uh, Wonderful. So tell me something, Caroline. You've been doing this for a while and you've been doing some incredible work now, and it's beautiful to see your journey. It's beautiful to see, just going through your feed is like reading visual, right? It's beautiful. But there will be some people that you look up to as well, whose work inspires you, or who you feel some contemporary artists that you feel are like the benchmark of the epitome of success or the epitome of creativity. And would you like to share those with us? Like some people who you take
So
inspiration.
I one person that really that really inspired me was Jamie Beck. She's a photographer based in Province, and she started this sort of movement during the lockdown called the isolation creation, where she basically just wanted everyone to create something. But every day of the lockdown, she would create something, and you had to stay at it. Like it was not that you create something beautiful every day, but you create something, and she really wanted to challenge the idea of sitting at home and getting bored of sauce. They kind of wanted to take the power back and create within herself, and that honestly really inspired me to see it in a different way. Of course, I met her at a different part of her journey, and she had created a beautiful community of people. But I definitely what she's created with this community and the power that she's given a lot of people sitting at home, I find very inspiring. I find that power very beautiful and something that I would totally aspire to do.
Amazing. That's I love
Yeah.
the name of it itself,
Yeah,
isolation
isolation creation.
create.
She would do one and she would post hers, and then she had a whole community of people who would do it from all across the world, and then you kind of find each other obviously through social media and all of that, and then it was just a whole community of people just rooting each other on to create when there wasn't anything else going on. So it was quite beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds so beautiful even right now. I'd love to
Yeah.
do it now.
It's challenging for sure, but it was
That's
very special.
absolutely really special. So tell me something. I'm sure it must have taken you some. I mean, as designers, as design students, we enter design college at the age of young age of 17, 18, with no ideas about what we're going to do with our lives. We don't have any strict design aesthetics. We're just like clay,
Absolutely.
right? Which
Yeah.
will get molded,
I
just like
relate so
get
much.
molded in the next 4 years. And yeah, like, and then eventually by the end of it, we sort of figure out, okay, this could be like a broader area. Menswear, women's wear, kids wear, whatever it is, this is where we could get into. And then it's a
Yeah.
lot of hit and trial, right? How would you advise young sort of fashion stylists or aspiring designers, or because you come from a
Yeah.
background where you've done both, where you've sort of got an background in design and you've got like a styling
Yeah.
background as your profession. How would you suggest young aspirants to sort of find their inner voice and find their own personal style and develop their own personal style and aesthetic?
To me, I think everybody has like something special that like what you call instinct or gut or something that you don't really think about but comes like very naturally to you. But basically how like you can't quite explain why you put two things together. Like I'm going to talk about still life in particular because it's what I relate to, but it's like different elements that you would put together and you have no idea why, and you have no idea why it makes sense to you or why this particular piece is the way you put it. But it's one of those things that come naturally to you. It's one of those things that you are not it's probably a culmination of a whole lot of training and a whole lot of other things, but it definitely to me that's the magic. It's to kind of trust that you have that instinct and to believe in that, because I think it gets influenced over the years. Like way back when you start, you're not entirely sure of what it even is, like you're getting into. It's like, what is design, what is fashion to start with? And so I think for me, it was to, it helped me find my voice to just trust what I actually did know at the back of my head. Like it was actually there, and it sort of helped me realize that that is what I wanted to talk about, and that was exactly where I kind of found my art and everything that I would like to work with more. I mean, I think it is only what you choose it to be, because it's not like these things have rules. Like that's what's crazy about what we do, especially with like fashion design and fashion styling. There is no right or wrong, and there's a million ways to put two things together, and what makes it work for you or what speaks to you is what makes it special. And there's just trusting that, and trusting that instinct is what I would do.
Awesome. And I completely agree with you on that. That makes so much sense that you have to go with your gut, and you have at the back of the head. I think all of us deep down know that we have a certain aesthetic, or we have certain
Exactly.
interests, or
It
certain also background that we've grown up in, or the influences that we've had in life. All of those small little things also sort of at the end of the day
Exactly. And it's
influence
when
our
you
art.
overthink that and try to complicate it with like the technical skill that you think you should have in it that, I think you lose your way a little bit. I did, because I was trying to figure out what was the right way to go about these things and the right way to do certain things. And that there really certainly isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It isn't like a yes or a no.
Exactly.
It's not objective. It's so subjective. Design and art by itself is so subjective, and that makes so much sense. But even when you sort of are figuring out your aesthetics, there are certain things that do help us sort of find the right direction. And one of them is trend forecasting and fashion forecasting, which at least gives us like a guideline onto what could be sort of trending in the future, what could be relevant in the future, what should be the direction of design for the coming seasons or for the future. Do you let that influence your art direction? Do you let that influence your
So the
styling at
answer to
all?
that is absolutely not, because I'm not someone who actually believes in trends, and it probably comes from the idea of I really strongly believe that fashion shouldn't work on trends, because fashion at the end of the day should be an expression of yourself. And today you're feeling these things. It's not that it's because everybody's doing it, because if you're doing it because it's a trend, if you're doing it because that's what everyone is doing, it's no longer you, and it's no longer a personal journey. And I feel like that is what trends do so very wrong. I mean, there are so many things that why the fashion industry needs trends and trend forecasting and all of that. But to me, the idea of trends come from a space of making fashion or making your art less personal. It then becomes about influence from some external force, and to me, that doesn't work very well. And it goes back to the idea of it just being an expression of myself. Like what choose to wear today is I know where my clothes come from. I know exactly who made it, and I try to make them myself. But I try to make sure that it's what I'm feeling, and it represents what I believe in. And I don't think that would be influenced by what's trending right now.
Absolutely. That again, that makes sense, and it's a personal journey for sure. And yeah, It's really inspiring, and of course, it's a really fresh and interesting take on finding your calling after you've done a certain degree in a certain domain. And we've had people in the past who have not even graduated. We all the time keep seeing people who've not even graduated in fashion and design, and or fashion and styling, and then they end up still being in the industry and flourishing and doing so well. But for the ones like, for example, you and I have both
Yeah.
graduated from NIFT, right? But for a lot of these young kids, they are at a juncture where they're sort of trying to figure out what industry to get into and how to get into styling. And there's no like concrete course, especially in NID or NIFT, which completely focuses only on fashion styling, right? There's nothing per se on styling alone. We do have a lot of courses which are like interdisciplinary
Yeah.
minors, they're like minor subjects that you have, but nothing concrete. So for kids who are actually looking to get into fashion styling, something that you're doing right now and pursuing and flourishing and doing so well, what would be your advice to like a 17, 16-year-old who's sort of lost? How do you pursue it in India? Because of course
Yeah.
going international is the way,
Yeah.
it's the easier way, right? But how do
Yeah,
you do it
no,
in
but
India?
honestly, I'm going back to the fact that there's only so much education can do to you. I feel like, especially with this field and with this particular like fashion styling or fashion design, there's only so much that it backs you with. There's only so much, and honestly, getting a job, nobody's going to ask you which college did you graduate from. They're going to look at your portfolio. They're going to look at what you've been working with, who you've been working with, and honestly, that's how it works in real time. So I strongly believe that even if you aren't you don't like even if you are pursuing a degree, it kind of depends on making sure that you get your work out there, making sure, especially with styling, because it's a very team involved thing. It's not about you, like you're so dependent on the models, the photographer, everyone to translate your vision, and it's a team work, which is why it's very important to kind of get into those teams and associate yourself with people who like-minded people and collaborate and create. And honestly, it all starts from, because I learned so much the minute I just actually started doing it, because back in college there's no time for anything and you're just trying to focus on getting your submissions right and finishing the jury requirements. It's never really about getting like finding yourself and kind of creating with the voice that you actually have. So I strongly think that, just putting your work out there to kind of to make work to start with, because only once you start kind of creating these images or start experimenting with yourself is what you really realize that this is what I like, or this is what I'm inclined to. Because like few projects in, you automatically realize this, oh, I really love doing this, and this is what really comes naturally to me. It's like, it's not work, it's like, this is my art, this is what comes naturally to me. So definitely put yourself work out there, but before that, start, like just create without any hesitation, because that's honestly where you will learn more than any classroom or any design school. It's really just going to be you working with yourself, working with your art, working with other people, and creating more.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's such sound advice for a lot of young aspirants who I'm sure are going to benefit from this. Uh, but just close on this conversation. You've already given a lot of advices in the last question that I asked, but I still would like to share some more advices that you'd have for all our young design aspirants on, how they should be. I mean, some mistakes maybe that you could sort of forewarn do it, right?
Yeah.
Or some advice or some word of caution that you want.
I think the one thing that I wish someone told me was to stay authentic, stay real, because a lot of, especially with design school, a lot of the process involved is picking inspirations, picking mood boards, looking through Pinterest. You have a whole lot of influence coming down your way. And even if unknowingly, knowingly, at the back of your head, they influence your work, it's not coming from a space of, it then goes into a space of replication. And so honestly, I just wish someone told me to not look at Pinterest. Someone told me to go outside, sketch a few frames. Someone told me that that's how it goes, because that's when I really started being authentic to myself, because it's so inbuilt in our process, no? Like that's how the design process for us is taught. The first thing to do is find inspiration and find pictorial representation of it, and then go on and try and figure that out. But before you hit the representation, before you hit Pinterest, it's nice to kind of sit with your inspiration and do what feels right to you. Stay authentic to who you are, because that is what's going to make you special. There's going to be a millions of people who do what Pinterest tells you to, but what you see, or what you choose to tell from what you see, is really what makes it special, and what people remember you by anyway, because that's how people resonate with anyway. Yeah. So I think that's honestly what my biggest learning
Absolutely.
after everything.
Oh, that is such good advice, yeah, Caroline, because I totally relate with you on that. One of the first things I think we're told or expected to do once we're in design school is like find pictorial references for the work that you'll be
Exactly.
doing. Like go sit at the center or go sit in the computer lab, go to the Mac lab and just figure
Exactly.
that out. And you end up killing thought process or design process because you don't really get the time to
Exactly.
actually think. All you're doing is sort of
And
and
even
just
if you
putting it
do
down on
think
paper.
unknowingly, you're influenced by everything, because you've just put down, what you think is the representation of it. So at the back of your head, that's there. So whatever you create from that is going to somehow be influenced by it, or it did to me.
Absolutely. And so, guys, take this sound advice and please refrain using Pinterest and jumping onto it at the first, sight of a question coming up you don't know the answer to. Actually, mule over the questions. Think about it. Give yourself some time. It's okay. It's all a part of the
Absolutely. It's very
process.
true to yourself.
This is wonderful. Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this, Caroline. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.